Hello, everyone, and inside today's Locked On Canadiens, Cayden Primo shuts out the Blue Jackets.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1029 of Locked On Canadiens, your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast, where you get your team every single day of the week. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and remember to make every moment more, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. I am, of course, one of your hosts. I am Scott Matla. I am wrapped up in the victory pizza blanket because it should be spring in Buffalo. It is not, and that's annoying and terrible and dumb. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, the active stick, Laura Saba. And Laura, we got an interesting game is how I want to phrase this. Against the Columbus Blue Jackets. As we had predicted with our friends at Locked On Blue Jackets, this game was going to be stupid. It just wasn't stupid and dumb in the way that we potentially predicted overall. But how are you feeling coming out of a 3-0 shutout over the Columbus Blue Jackets?
Okay, I know it's the Blue Jackets. I get that. I understand that, but I'm still happy for Kaden Primo for getting a shutout. We predicted that this game would be wild and crazy. I know less than ideal injuries on the Columbus side that probably aided the Canadiens, but also I think the Habs capitalized when they could, and I think they did a good job of that. And I'm just happy for Kaden Primo for coming away with a shutout because overall, this season, his stats are looking way better than any other time in the NHL he's had so far. So it like that's what I'm gonna focus on. I know we have a lot to talk about, but that to me, that my big takeaway from that is that this allows Cayden Primo to quote unquote pad his stats and put himself in a better position confidence wise going into the future.
So coming out of this game tonight, Cayden Primo is 6-6-2 on the season, 283 goals against, 910 save percentage, and the only 2 shutouts on the Canadiens this season. It sounds like a made-up factor, like 54 saves between 2 games, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. He faced 41 shots against the Blue Jackets. And I remember he got a 13-save shutout against the Anaheim Ducks, where I think he took a nap for half of the game there. This is such a weird game because Cayden Primo was phenomenal all night.
Yes.
He looked a little shaky, a little wobbly at first, some bad rebounds in the first period. But the minute he dialed in, he looked unflappable between the pipes. And this is not to say Samuel Montembeault should, give up more starts to Cayden Primo. We're not going that far in this, but Cayden Primo far and away was potentially the only reason this was a Canadiens shutout and a Canadiens win tonight here. I want to avoid being too hypercritical of the Canadiens in this, just because they did win this game. They got a much needed win, much needed depending on who you are. And right out of the outset, they just came out and punched Columbus so hard that this game was over inside 6 minutes. They scored 21 seconds in. They added another goal on the power play on their first shot on the power play, and then got one a couple of minutes after that. This was a game with
I was in the washroom and then all the goals happened and then they never came back after I started watching.
It's just like the playoffs. You should have watched the rest of the game in the bathroom.
I know, right?
Scoring goals. It was bizarre across the board in that the Canadiens took their foot off the gas 6 minutes into the first period and just never got it back. And I haven't looked at Natural Stat Trick to get the final numbers for this game, but I assume it's not going to be good. They're not really good, if we're being honest here.
Did Columbus like really, really skate circles around them, or was it just eh?
At 5-on-5, Columbus held the advantage in pretty much every single category. Expected goals, the Canadiens ended with 2.33. Columbus ended with 2.61. More high danger chances were split 11-11 between the two teams. More scoring chances for Columbus at 5-on-5. In all situations, this was Columbus had an expected goals of 5.01, the Canadiens 2.62. This was just a game where Montreal was not in all situations. They got to 3-0 up and then just straight up took their foot off the gas. And part of that is they started rolling a new fourth line center out there. Their lines kind of got jumbled at the end, is that we saw Suzuki with the fourth line and Jake Evans. And I think they really are waiting for Colin White to be good to go at this point, because they desperately need an actual center on that line. Because as it turns out, even against bad teams, sorry, Columbus, sorry, Jay, we love you. You need an actual center to play on the fourth line. Otherwise, you might as well just dress 7 defensemen.
Exactly.
Honestly.
I think with this fourth line center thing, it's not just the fourth line center thing. It's that like they keep playing Nick Suzuki. Like the man is going to get tired. But I feel like at least the Canadiens are learning their lesson, and they're not trying to shoehorn a non-center into a center position, which it feels like they've done way too much in the past couple of years and even before that. So at least they're being patient. And the only thing is, like, for me, Colin White is basically just a guy, right? So I don't know how much he's going to change this or how much he's going to bring, but it'll be nice to see what the line can do if it's an actual center playing in that position and not trying their best, have a heart of gold, blah, 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 but failing. So I think for me, like, that's one of the things where it's a glaring hole, and we keep talking about it, but like, you know, people are like, oh, what about the middle six? What about the middle six? I'm like, the fourth line is there for a reason. It has a purpose, and it's not fulfilling that purpose at the moment.
And also, the middle six is the middle six. Like it rotates game to game depending on ice time in this. Like we've seen the Wah Army and New Hook be, you know, the third line. We've seen the Anderson group be the second line and rotating back and forth. Tonight was a night where just everyone looks bad because they were playing defense from the minute they went 3-0 up. And particularly the defense itself just did not look good. There was no cohesion to let's get the puck out, let's start the breakout. It was a lot of failed clearing attempts, swatting at pucks, and not getting things out.
Desperate.
There were moments where, like, there was a shift where Jaden Struble was out there for 3+ minutes, and it's like that's a problem. Martin St. Louis didn't look super enthused. Some of the penalties in this game that kept them out there a little bit longer were not great. I didn't think the officiating in this game overall was very good, but it, you know, didn't hurt or help the Canadiens at all in this. This is just the kind of performance that I look at and go, oh man, you guys have got to do better than this, though, in that they came out, scored on their first 3 shots or 3 out of their 4 shots there. And here's the reason why I'm concerned just a touch. Coming up on Thursday is the Bruins. They go out west, which super not fun for you or myself next week. They go out west on Saturday, 7 p.m. against the Flames. They play the Oilers and the Canucks then Tuesday and Thursday next week. Then Seattle, then the Avalanche. That's a brutal stretch of games. There's a chance that outside of the Flames and Kraken, there's not a game that I think the Canadiens are in this next bunch here that it's like, yeah, I feel good going into this game here. We know they have one of the toughest schedules down the stretch here. If they play in the defensive zone like they did tonight against Columbus, they will get blown out by some of these teams. Kaden Primo was immense. One of the potentially best goaltending performances of the season of any goalie, based on just the number of expected goals he potentially saved in this game.
Of any of the Habs 700 goalies that they carried this year?
Yes, and I mean across the NHL too. Like it's I think this might be up there. I'll have to actually ask a friend of the show, Shayna, because she normally has that kind of information, how highly that ranks on the charts there, because it's got to be up there. We are very happy for Cayden Primo. We didn't even mention Juraj Slafkovsky on the score sheet again, Brendan Gallagher on the score sheet again, Joshua on the score sheet again. All things that we like to see in this game, but it all pales in comparison to just how immense Cayden Primo was. And all those are great, but we do have to talk, because I know people are going to ask about it. We're going to talk about Cole Caufield, his goal scoring drought and everything, and that's all coming up next. But first, we are past the halfway point of the NHL season, Habs fans, and we know there's a lottery team again, but that shouldn't stop you from winning big playing daily fantasy hockey. And all of us here at the Locked On NHL Network recommend Sleeper, the official daily fantasy hockey app of Locked On NHL Network, because you can win up to 100 times your money when you play on Sleeper. Is Connor McDavid going to stay red hot? Are you going to watch Austin Matthews chase that goal scoring record potentially? All that and more on Sleeper. And you can also play NFL, NBA, MLB, college football, and more on Sleeper. And entries can be made in under a minute. All you have to do to win 100 times your money is pick whether, players like McDavid or Crosby stay hot, and will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, or more in a given game. And to win 100 times that, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. That's 100 times your money. So you can, on daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, start paying attention and nail those picks. Just use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's promo code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and a locational availability. We are also brought to you by the fine folks at eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy, and it is also what keeps your ride or die vehicle alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash. With all the parts you need at prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive exclusively at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Some exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, available to U.S. customers only. And before we jump back into our show here, we do want to remind you that Locked On has launched the first 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. And if you are a baseball fan, mark your calendars for March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the best MLB season preview, coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today at 7 p.m. You will be the first to get local insights from all of the MLB experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. That is March 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Back to hockey, however. This is a hockey podcast. And before we get to the mailbag at the end of the week, and before everyone starts really looking into this game and asking, what's wrong with Cole Caufield? What's wrong with Cole Caufield? Laura, I guess the question is, are either of us worried that Caufield hasn't scored in a little while here? I know that we've seen Suzuki playing well and Slafkovsky playing well and Matheson setting pretty good paces for themselves, but Caufield seems to be the one that is catching people's eye in terms of his, I'm going to call it a scoring slump, because it is goal scoring slump. He's still getting points. They're just coming in the form of assists, not goals for him so far.
So if you're asking if I'm worried or I should be worried, I would give it until the offseason. Here's why. He's coming back from an injury. He's also coming back from a year he had last year where it was career, it was historic, blah, blah, blah. And he is one of the biggest scoring threats on this team, and the opponents are game planning for him in a way that they have not before, in a way that they've not been able to before. So there's a lot of factors here at play. So from my perspective, the team should be looking at his goal scoring drought. they should be looking at why it's happening, and they should be giving him assignments for the off season, whether it's additional physiotherapy, whether it is additional, some, go see some skills guy or whatever. There's clearly a bunch of things here at play. But the other thing too is that sometimes, even though you're the goal scorer, if somebody else on your line is scoring goals, sometimes you got to be the supporting player in that. And there's no problem with that. For me, the thing is he still able to participate in all of that scoring? To me, that's the most important factor, because it feels like people are playing bigger against him. I don't know if that's making sense if you're listening, but that's what it seems like to me when you're watching him play. He doesn't necessarily seem like he's lost hope. I'm sure he's frustrated. He's not that kind of player who's going to be, breaking sticks and throwing sticks. Like, he's always going to have that good-natured sort of approach, right? And his line is one of the best lines right now in the NHL, the hottest since I think the All-Star break. We were talking about it yesterday. So I'm not super, super worried, because he's still contributing. It's not like he's not. But at the same time, if you're the Montreal Canadiens, I would be watching a lot of tape, and I'd be working with him, and I would be giving him assignments. So if he comes back next year and we're still not seeing goals, then I would be concerned. But for me, this year was always going to be a bit touch and go and scary, after he came back from such a major surgery that he had to miss half of the season last year. So again, surgery, other opponents being better versed in Cole Caufield, maybe a little bit of giving Slafkovsky the opportunity to shine, because he and Nick Suzuki are carrying the scoring at the moment. I'm not worried unless he was dragging down that line, which clearly he isn't. So that's my quote unquote hot take. I've decided not to worry. So if you guys want to worry, tell us in the comments or on lockedoncanadians@gmail.com why you're worried.
I'm just looking at, his game logs here since his last goal against the Rangers. No points, assist, no points, assist, 2 assist. And in those games, 6 shots, 4 shots, 4 shots, 6 shots, 4 shots, 4 shots, 1 shot, 4 shot, 4 shot, 5 shots, 6 shots. It's not that he's not putting the puck on net. He's not creating chances. He's setting up plays. He's got 52 points this year in 65 games on a team that has struggled across the board. He's still being a very productive player. It's just that it turned into, getting those primary assists and points on that line, because he's not everything getting fed through on the power play anymore now. You have Matheson, who is shooting the puck and distributing. You have Suzuki having a potentially career best goal scoring season. You have the emergence of Juraj Slafkovsky. You have Alex Newhook in the middle. You had Sean Monahan, who was filling that power play void there, filling in and getting some of those bumper tap-in goals from Caufield and Suzuki around the net. I would love to see that goal scoring number rise. I think, there were 65 games, there's 17 left. He can still hit 30 goals this season. It's not out of the realm of possibility. We've seen it. When he gets hot, he is just goal over and over again. It's just that, like you said, teams have adjusted to cheating towards his side. He has already forced teams, let's call it a year and a half into his NHL career, to respect him at all times. And now he's turned into a pretty phenomenal playmaker on that first line there. Yes, I would love to see Cole Caufield put up 40 goals this year. And I was hoping that he would, and it seemed like everything was going to go that way. And then sometimes your role changes a little bit on there. I still think he's capable of doing that. I will always believe that he is capable of doing that. But man, it's not that he's not trying. There's been posts, there's been saves, it's tipped on the way to the net or it's blocked. It's not like he's not attempting to put the puck on there. I'm not worried. I'm a little frustrated that, the luck isn't there for him. It's not quite as bad as Josh Anderson, but I don't think anyone on the Canadiens is having worse luck this year. But I think that Caufield's done a pretty good job making himself a still very valuable asset on that top line. And we know that they can stick and run that next year. Maybe he plays with Kirby Dach next year and that unlocks something different where he is more of a primary shooter on that line. Across the board, I'm just not going to be worried about it at all right now.
But we got to change the slogan from be small, score goals to be small, make plays.
Yeah, apparently be small, make plays is the new way to go here. I did want to mention Slafkovsky still, it's having, he's clearly taking that next step forward there. He has
and
6
playing through something.
Yes, and Slafkovsky has 6 power play goals out of his 14 this year. Caufield has 8. I guarantee you a chunk of those goals that are going to Slafkovsky would have gone to Caufield last season because there were no other choices. I'm not looking at plus minus on this team because that's absolutely pointless across the board, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried yet. He's still shooting the puck. He does seem to be slightly frustrated. You can see it in his game where there's some little bits of physicality that aren't usually there in Caufield's game because that's just not who he is. He was going at it with guys on the Blue Jackets on Tuesday night, and sometimes when you're frustrated, you just take it out on the person closest to you in those games. So he's due. He's due in a big way. I think that bubble's going to burst and things will kind of regulate a little bit. We do want to wrap up the show. We want to switch to another league. We're not going to talk the AHL. We're going to talk the PWHL a little bit and wrap up the show there because we've got big PWHL news, and that's all coming up next. But first, as we said off the top, today's show is brought to you by the folks at FanDuel. And say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every single game of the upcoming tournament. Whether you're betting on the big upset or you're playing the favorites, the number 1 seeds, it's time to go dancing on America's number 1 sports book. And right now, if you are a new customer, you can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. We know the fun part of this tournament every year is those double-digit underdog seeds coming out and shocking the top teams in the country. You can enjoy all of that and go home just a little bit richer on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can bet on college hoops today until they cut down those nets. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. We'll be back tomorrow after the Rocket game. We will be here Thursday after the Habs and Bruins game for our weekly mailbag episode. If you have questions, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com, at @LO_Canadiens on Twitter. In the YouTube comments, just put MBQ somewhere in there so we can find it in the comments. Just don't be rude, and we'll get to that for the mailbag this upcoming week. So we are talking the PWHL, and I'm making sure that I spelled it properly in our little graphic here on youtube.com because my biggest fear was that I had put the wrong order in there because I'm so used to talking PHWA, which is the Association of White Dudes who vote on all the awards in the NHL.
And get them wrong.
And get them wrong mostly, or they can be the rumor monger who gets to work for the PWHL for some reason. But that's for a live show where we can unpack that a little bit. The biggest news of the day was, and I got to credit Jared Book, who has kind of been on this from the start after they announced games for Toronto and at the Xcel Energy Center in Minnesota and games at Place Bell, is when is the PWHL Montreal team going to be on the ice at the Bell Center? They've done it in the past with the CWHL where they got about 6,000 fans there. The PWHL,
I think we can do better this year.
I have every feeling that this is going to be much bigger than 6,000 fans. The game in Toronto was a sellout. The game in Minnesota was a sellout. The games at Place Bell have been a sellout. The game that they're going to be playing in Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, is going to be a sellout. The PWHL and PWHL Montreal are coming to the Bell Center on April 20th. That is a Saturday. It is a 1 p.m. puck drop. So there will be no competition with the Canadiens game whatsoever. If you are able to get yourself tickets to this, they will go fast. And that is not me trying to gas anything up. We've seen it with every single major event the PWHL has announced this year. Those tickets will go fast, and they will deserve to go fast. The crowds are electric. They are playing PWHL Toronto. And every time that the Montreal team plays one of these record-setting games, they have lost every single time. That will change on home ice. And I have to say, I am so I'm so sad that I'm hosting an event in another part of New York State, because the minute I saw this announced, I went, how can I get myself there to watch this game? I am not able to, but I will be damn sure watching it the entire time. For people who are able to go, I am extremely jealous. Laura, I believe you're working your way to get there. It
I'm
is
lucky. I
Laura is
have a
very
friend who
lucky.
has, yes, I'm connected in some ways, and one of the ways that I'm connected is that actually one of my friends has access to a super exclusive pre-sale or whatever. So we immediately, as soon as we saw it, she jumped right on that. She got the group. She will be there, and um, well, I don't have the tickets in hand yet, but I will do everything in my power to get there. I have a lot of faith that my friend's going to be able to come through and get us all there. And if you are there, please come and say hi, because I am so excited about this game. It's actually going to be the one hockey game I go to this year. I haven't been to the Rocket. Every year I try to go to the Rocket at least once. I haven't been to the Habs. Every year somebody invites me to a Habs game, and nobody's done that this year. So not to call anyone out, but I will definitely be there. That might be my one hockey thing that I do this year. So please come say hi if you do see me there, and we can cheer on our Montreal team with star-studded Olympians and world champions and all together. Because honestly, like, I literally cannot wait for this game.
I was going to say the Habs season is actually over at that point. I believe. I am just going to double check
Yes,
their
I think
schedule.
it's April. It's the week before, April 13 or
April
something.
16th is their last game at home
Yeah,
against the Red Wings.
there you go.
And there was an interesting part is that there are some rumors that team names are going to start trickling out the end of the season here in preparation for the second season and going into the playoffs to give these. And I'm very curious if they use this as an opportunity to unveil a logo and team name for this. I know that that is very short notice, but I have no doubt that the league and teams have been working on this. Just so beyond excited for this. It's every single game. One, you can watch it on YouTube, which makes it so easy that if you can't, get it through whatever network is hosting it, there is always YouTube available there for it. They've made this super accessible. Tickets are super affordable, and the quality of hockey, women's hockey has always had very good quality to it, and this has brought that up even up to another level. People talk about we want it closer to the men's game. The physicality in some of these games, you're not seeing players getting in fist fights like you do in the NHL and the AHL, but they're throwing checks. There's physicality, there's scrums. There's all the same intensity here at a level that deserves to be highlighted more and more often. Like I said, I'm sad I can't go, but you're going to get to see Marie-Philippe Poulin play with, Laura Stacey. You're going to get to watch Anne Renee Debian in net there. You're going to get to see so many good players, not even on just Montreal side, on Toronto side as well. Their games have been feisty. They've been competitive. They've been mean. They are every bit a part of the Montreal-Toronto rivalry. I don't want to call it the 401 rivalry because the 401 stops in Quebec, I believe, and comes something else. I might be wrong
It's the
because
40 or the 20, depending on where you join it. It's a long thing.
we'll call it the border war, basically. Then we'll steal a college football terminology, though I guess Ottawa would be closer, but that's
The
not the
Bon
point.
Cup, Bad Cup War.
Oh my God. Please tweet that. Oh, man. I don't understand that because I've never seen the movie, but
Oh, you
I'm
have
sure
to.
we will get into that off the air here. But give us your name for what you think this rivalry should be called. I think Laura's is fantastic. The PWHL playoffs are also right around the corner for that too. They are obviously playing at the Verdun Auditorium, but I'm sure Place Bell, if the Rocket are not in the playoffs, will lend their ice for some of those games as well. If not the Bell Center, Lord knows that Evenco and, the Bell Group like to make money on things. Capitalism is capitalism.
And then lay
Go
off a bunch of people.
You're not wrong. Go check it out. If you're going, send photos. Tell us how it was. We want to hear from you on that. We want to hear from you for our mailbag at LO_Canadiens, LockedOnCanadiens@gmail.com. You can follow Laura at The Active Stick. You can follow myself at Scott Matla. That's going to wrap up our show for tonight. It's a little bit choppy. I'm still dealing with internet problems. We're doing the best we can. We will be back after the Laval Rocket game tomorrow night. But until then, we will see you all next time.